Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Pooba, Senator, Pagoda, Grinder, and Bam Bam. A full house of lizards. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some cognac, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 115th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We continue our journey into Cuban pyramids, we do a deep dive on Cohiba's line, and we explore a super premium cognac, all among a variety of other things for the next 2 hours. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Camu Borderies XO cognac with the Cohiba Piramides Extra. A beautiful pyramid from Cuba tonight on the pod. It's called the Cohiba Piramides Extra. It's a 54 ring gauge cigar by 6 1/4 inches long. And boys, this is going to be very, very good, I think.
I'll tell you, it's a beautiful cigar.
I'm very excited. Who in the room has had this cigar?
No,
I have not.
No one.
This is Pooba.
I have it all the time.
Except for you, Giz.
Giss.
Giz? No, I saved that for the right moment.
Okay. No, these are really, really great. I'm excited to do these tonight. I never, when we did the Battle of the Pyramids last year, we did kind of the traditional sized pyramids, which are a little smaller. They're actually 52 ring gauge by 6 1/8 inch. So they're two sizes smaller in the ring gauge, and they're an 1/8 inch shorter. We did the Battle of the Pyramids. I didn't think that we were actually going to do this, but the opportunity came up when we were in Cohiba earlier this year to get our hands on some of these from Laguito, and here we are tonight. So I'm glad that we're adding this to our list of pyramids tonight.
Is anyone getting anything on the wrapper, on the nose at all? Nothing,
It
right?
smells very good.
It's nice, but very mild.
Very mild, yeah.
Very mild. Invisible seams.
Yeah, beautiful wrapper.
Yeah.
Invisible seams virtually.
Not much on the nose here right now.
Well, let's cut this thing, boys. See, we're getting on the cold draw. Hopefully get a little bit more there.
It's not heavy.
No.
It's it's not densely
No,
packed.
it's not.
The draw's
No,
wide open.
No, it's not. Unlike some of the cigars we've reviewed in a similar ring gauge.
I love the cold draw on these, man.
It's dried fruit and I'm getting a lot of banana on this thing. Dried fruit, banana heavy for me.
I get a little nuttiness.
Wow. Very nice.
I have to say the construction is impeccable.
Flawless.
And the foot's
Draw
nice.
is great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look. I'm looking at the wrapper. Like I looked around the room and I saw everybody just kind of staring at the cigar because it's got a little bit of that. And we're in a dark room. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, which is always a good sign. And the seams and the construction overall of this particular cigar that we're smoking is real. It looks pretty flawless.
Rooster's ready to light up.
Let's do it, boys. Let's light this thing.
Light it.
The Cohiba Piramides Extra. Again, it's a 54 ring gauge pyramid by 6 1/4 inches long. A beautiful, unique size to Cohiba out of Cuba.
Would you say that the wrapper is delicate or thick on this guy?
Oh, I think it's just right.
Yeah.
She's thick.
I've never had
It's not
problems
thick.
with these wrappers, but I wouldn't say that they're delicate in my
Yeah.
experience.
It's not
Okay.
thick. It's not delicate. I think it's just right, actually.
You need the right lighter to light a cigar like this, like a torch.
I think a match
Yeah, or a
is
single
better
flame,
inside anytime.
or a single flame.
Yeah, or a single flame. Yeah.
I've been waiting for this cigar all day, boys. Delicious on the light.
One word. Wow.
Yeah.
It's dessert.
Yep.
Straight dessert.
This is a treat.
Super sweet, creamy. I love this on the light.
Little saltiness too, just
Yeah.
a touch, the right amount. Nuttiness.
Dude, I'm really excited to be smoking this right now.
It's a beautiful cigar. We're very, very lucky.
Previewing beautifully right now.
It's a special smoke.
Yeah. If this can continue,
What do these retail?
So that's the problem, Bam. And the
Or
question
challenge.
the question I was hoping you were not going to answer.
Or ask, you mean?
These cigars come in a couple different formats. The traditional 10 count format, just a 10 count, box like the D4 box,
Can
very
I make
similar
a guess?
to that.
A
Yeah, go
venture
ahead.
guess? A 10 count, $125.
You're on the money. $120 a stick.
Is that right?
Right
Yeah.
on.
That's a wild guess.
$1,200 for a box
The
of 10.
box just came up actually today.
You wouldn't
On the
you
floor.
wouldn't pay that for this? I mean, just to have it in your
Well,
humidor?
let's
I
see.
don't know.
We just lit it.
It's a little early to decide.
It
that
is.
there.
All right.
I mean, Jesus. We're 2 puffs in.
I'm like a dog chasing an ambulance. I get excited, all right?
I thought you were going to say you already have 4 boxes.
No, I
He
don't.
might.
I have no Cohiba boxes.
Yeah, we haven't gotten an updated inventory list, by the way.
I was looking at it earlier. It's on our note. I'm actually dying to unload my tower, go through the whole thing and update it. Maybe
So we are dying for it too.
the weekend is coming up. I may do it this weekend.
Beautiful. Can I give you some credit though? So on a prior episode, we released, I believe in November, it was the Bolivar Corona Gigantes episode, discontinued cigar. We gave Bam some shit about all the Bolivar he had in his tower.
Yes,
and
you
boys,
did.
what did Bam do today
Yes,
before
you
this
did.
podcast? He showed up with 3 boxes of Bolivar Petit Corona, and he gave us all one.
Yes.
Our choice of box code. Very, very kind, Bam. I got to give you the credit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's a new year.
He doesn't believe us when we say we don't have certain boxes, and he does, and we like to try them.
I
But
don't.
Gizmo and I immediately said, we have not one box of Bolivar Petit Coronas in our entire tower.
It's true.
Let me tell you, Giss. I went home.
I'm giving you credit.
I went home. I looked at Mrs. Bam Bam like, honey, I'm getting a lot of flack. I went right downstairs, got those boxes, and came right over. It was a must.
You
It was a
listened
must.
to the
That was
pod
right.
today.
That was right before I was over there.
Yeah. Wait, were you wearing a ski mask?
Little cops and robbers.
All
with
right.
Mrs. Band.
Okay. Keeps
So-
it interesting.
Like I said, boys, these come in 2 different formats exclusively. They come in that varnished Boyd Nature box of 10 cigars, and they also come in tubos, which I think are really, really classy. When you're getting a cigar of this size in a pyramid format out of a tubo, they come in the 15 aluminum tube cigars, which is the 5 cardboard packs of 3. What's interesting is this cigar only was released in 2012. So this is the latest addition to the Linea Classica, let's call it, of Cohiba cigars in Cuba.
And how many months old is this cigar tonight?
So the box code on this is GESMAR23. It's a very young cigar, less than a year, which is why I wanted to do it.
6 to 8 months.
Yeah, it's about 10 months.
Nice.
10 months. So the reason why I wanted to do
We went from 10 months to a few months.
Oh, Jesus.
Is it 10 months? No, it's a few months.
I'm saying a few months so he can correct me.
Yeah, I'm with
giving
you.
him
This is
an
like-
opportunity
this is
to
like
correct me. You know what it's
Contractor
called?
circle talk.
It's
It's a
called
few
cadence.
dollars.
No, there's a
No,
cadence
he
here.
and I are
It's
on the
only
same page.
it's only a few dollars more, and then the invoice comes
Listen,
in and it's
yes.
30,000.
Bam,
The
Bam
amateurs
is the
that pay.
conductor now.
Gotcha.
No, we're on the same page. And the reason why I wanted to do this cigar young is number one, this is, the age that you're finding these cigars now. If you're buying them, from a source like Friends of El Habano or I Havana, something like that, you're getting box codes around this time. But also, I think like a lot of other young Cuban cigars that we've done on the podcast and we've all been smoking, I think these are performing at the top of their game, even with less than a year of age on it. And obviously, we're going to see how that goes tonight. But that's why I brought in fresh cigars tonight.
I don't know. We're about a half inch in. It's incredible.
So I have a question. You said this was released in 2012.
2012.
So is this one of the newest pyramids?
It is the newest pyramid.
Okay.
As far as regular production pyramids from Habanos, this is the latest edition
Wow.
in the regular production pyramid.
Well, they've taken good notes because
Yeah.
this is off to a hell of a start.
And like I said, it's interesting that Cohiba, in choosing to release a pyramid in 2012, decided to increase the ring gauge and also the length of it. The Piramides Extra, as opposed to the classic Piramides size, which we had done, the H. Upman number 2, the Partagas Series P number 2, the Diplomaticos, the Montecristo number 2. Those are all 52 by 6 1/8. This is 54 by 6 1/4. So that's also an interesting decision too. And I think that it reflects in the blend. Like Rooster said, it's not a densely packed cigar. I think there's a lot of tobacco in here, but I think that extra breathing room in the ring gauge makes it such that we have 7 cigars here right now. all of us are having a great draw experience, great combustion experience. I think that it benefits from that extra ring gauge.
What can you tell? I'm not a Cohiba aficionado. What can anyone tell us about the blend? Is there some medio tiempo in here that gives it that?
No, that's only in the Bejique.
That's right.
Is that only in the Bejique?
That's only in
Yeah.
Bejique. But
Okay.
there is something special about some of the leaf in Cohiba tobacco that doesn't exist in any of the other brands. Forgetting Medio Tempo, as Puba just mentioned, that's only in Bejique. The Seco and Ligero filler leaf used in Cohiba is given an extra fermentation of around 25 days in the wooden barrels that we saw in that fermentation room at El Laguito. So this tobacco actually gets an extra 25 days of fermentation in those barrels that no other tobacco in Cuba gets, just for Cohiba cigars.
I'll never forget the smell in that room.
Yeah.
Incredible. When
It's
you stick your
amazing.
face in that
Oh
the barrel.
my gosh.
Yeah.
It was like, honestly, it smelled like cognac. The entire room was like cognac.
Yeah, and they're getting
Cognac.
and my understanding, not being a huge Cohiba, I don't have any Cohiba in my. I have a couple, but I don't have any significant amount of Cohiba in my humidor. But I mean, the primings are premium. They get the top of the basically the cream of the crop in terms of the primings.
They
right?
do, and also the top rollers.
Or the top
roll.
roll. Yeah, Nelogito,
Yeah.
of course.
But to your point about the tobacco used, when the production folks at Laguito are needing to go to Vuelta Abajo and Pinar del Rio and actually purchase tobacco, they actually go to specific farms, they go to specific marketplace type setups for tobacco. Cohiba Laguito has premier access to the best tobacco coming out of Pinar del Rio. They have special relationships with specific farmers and farms there. So it's not run of the mill.
Yeah.
They're not just being fed tobacco that they have to choose from and use. They actually go out and source the tobacco that they feel is going to be the best for Cohiba.
I have to say, very interesting. No socialism in that process. Everybody doesn't get the same thing when it comes to tobacco.
That's very
That's
true.
exactly right.
Now with Cohiba, and I'm asking these questions only because I don't. It's not a marker that I that I pursue, so I don't really research it as much
Yet.
yet. But many of us have. It's come. We've all had to kind of come a long way to come around to Cohiba.
Definitely.
Particularly the man to my left, he's come around a little bit. I think
He's
more.
pointing to Mr. Senator.
Yeah, this may be the only cigar that's
Maybe a
come around.
touch.
Anyway, but putting the price and the value and all that stuff aside, are there problems with? I mean, there are certainly probably less problems with draw, combustion, the quality control on Cohiba. What's the latest talk around that? And how are they doing right now with the QC? And are they really putting out cigars that are? I mean, clearly this one's performing fantastic, but are there problems with them?
I think the recent run, and I think that this is widely accepted, what I'm about to say, on various forums, in the room, outside the room, friends, etc. I think the recent run of tobacco out of Laguito, specific to Cohiba, which is answering your question, but also a lot of the tobacco from almost every factory has been a significantly improved quality in both the flavor, the blending decisions, and in the construction.
Almost across all markets.
Exactly.
Like recent, as of late.
As of late, now,
Yeah.
Laguito is notorious for having the best QC and the best
Obviously,
output.
yes.
So when you're purchasing now, if it's me, and I'm going to purchase a box of $1,200 cigars for some reason, okay, I'm probably, and they're Cohiba, I'm probably going to be looking for El Laguito box codes, because with that kind of investment, I do not want to see cigars coming from provincials or another factory that I'm not very familiar with. And also,
But does that happen with Cohiba?
it still does. They're
often?
trying to move all Cohiba production to Laguito.
On
It just
certain
hasn't happened yet.
Vitolas, they do.
They
In
still
sticks,
are
yeah.
producing
Yeah. See, I
at
don't know.
Corona and other factories.
Yeah.
And another thing to note is when we were at the Laguito factory during the tour, they said every single Cohiba cigar goes through a draw machine. Every single one.
Which is unique to
Not
that
just
brand.
random out of,
Yeah, they don't pick them out of
no,
batches.
every
Yeah.
single cigar goes through a draw machine.
That's
the
right.
Draw master.
And
That's
the
right.
fact that Laguito is one of the smaller, it is the smallest mother factory as far as the amount of people on the grounds, and certainly the quantity of rollers rolling those cigars. There's probably less than 100 rollers at Laguito, whereas at Corona, I think the number is going to jump to 500 or 700 in the next 10 years. So that's 5 or 7x what they're doing at Laguito. And they also have lower production requirements at Laguito. So those rollers are premier. They're treated really well. They're the creme de la creme. Certainly in the Bihique Saloon where they're rolling Bihique, those are the 9+ rollers.
They're in a separate room onto themselves.
Exactly. So the price is firing on all cylinders, obviously, and it sounds like the quality has improved a bit since maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago.
My perception, and I think our collective perception, being at Laguito and talking to the production manager there and the team there, my perception is that they're really feeling the pressure of the market. They're really feeling the pressure of Habanos to make sure that every cigar that comes out of there is at the highest quality.
Because like I've had some Coros I've had that I know were real. I've had some other Vitolas, many over the years. And the consensus, I was always kind of like, it's okay, but like it's not, this isn't from a price to experience ratio like working for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, they showed, particularly with the Robusto, and even the Siglos that I've had, sometimes they've shown some youth where you're like, these really need to lay down long. Like this cigar is clearly young, clearly needs to lay down longer. This has been my experience with Cohiba.
But I think what you're saying is still the case though with most of Cohiba. I think that most Cohiba still needs time. It still needs to lay down. We came home with some Siglo 5s from the same trip. They're not ready for prime time yet. Whereas I think the experience that I've had with these specific cigars in our hand is very, very different.
I would just say I've probably been the most vocal critic of Cohiba here. And the reason for that, and I'm hoping this cigar is going to be the one that somewhat changes my perspective a bit on Cohiba. The reason for me is every other marca in the Habanos portfolio that we smoke, we have found young cigars that are great. Especially just in the last year, you think of brand new releases that some marcas have put out for the first time ever. Yeah. These are as fresh of cigars as we would ever be willing to smoke.
And they were delicious.
They were incredible. And my problem has been with a Cohiba Robusto, with Siglos I've had in the past, really any of the young Cohibas I've had over years' time, none of them have been enjoyable. The youth shows in like such an aggressive and not enjoyable way that for me, the fact that there's a premium for that brand, it's just incompatible for me, right? If I'm going to pay more, well, then I expect more. And the problem is I'm getting less, and I'm expected to put these cigars down in my humidor for 5 years at least until I can smoke them. There's almost no cigar that I have to do that with that I purchase in quantity that I really enjoy. Now, where I see the promise of Cohiba, Grinder had once gifted me a little sampler at one point, and in it was an 05 Cohiba Robusto that was absolutely incredible. Yeah. But that had a ton of age on it. I mean, it was truly spectacular. And so just the frustration for me is like, there's no D4, there's no Upman that I need to wait 10, 15 years to have a spectacular experience with. And so it's just so frustrating. I'm like, why am I paying more to have to wait more time than any other brand to get that experience? But I will say this cigar, I mean, there's probably a half inch of ash on here. This is the best experience I've had with any young Cohiba by far. And if it can stay like this all the way through, then I will, there's hope for me in this brand.
Yeah. So other than the fact that the price is prohibitive for many people, if the younger Cohibas are smoking the way this one is, I want to piggyback on what you said. It makes a lot of sense to start pursuing them. The only good Cohibas I've had was in Cuba. I've had the Cohiba Lancero, the Coro. I had a few of those there. They were young. For me, they were fantastic. But stateside, having to pay for that cigar, unlikely.
Yeah, but the prices when, going back like 5 years, they were high to begin with for the Cohibas.
And they're never going to come down.
And now they're like 3 to 4 times more.
Yeah, they're never coming down.
Yeah. So...
To Rooster's point, I mean, a cigar, like we think of Robustos that we regularly smoke that are Cuban. We used to be able to get a Partagas D4 for like $10, $12. And at that time, a Cohiba Robusto was like $35.
Yep.
Now you look at the price. I mean, it's over $100.
It's
just-
crazy.
it's nuts.
It's crazy.
And that's what just makes it a really hard decision. You're sitting there saying to yourself, like, why would I pay 3-4 times the price for a cigar that I know is not even smokable young?
Yeah, I think there's a certain mystique with the Cohiba brand. So a lot of people, it's like a status symbol
Sure.
to be smoking a Cohiba and showing that label off.
Yeah, especially in certain markets around the world, right? Asia in particular.
Oh well,
Yeah.
I think it. Yeah, I think it's Asia. I think it's.
Yeah.
I think it's the U.S. I
Yeah.
think it's everywhere.
Yeah.
That that
It's a
label.
status
It's a
symbol,
status
sure.
symbol, just like a luxury watch or anything else. You're sitting in a lounge, you're out and you're smoking. You're smoking a Cohiba. It's like you're driving the Ferrari of cigars.
Absolutely.
And it's like the supercar of cigars.
Yeah.
And that's all good. I mean, there's a place in the market for that, and I'm cool with it. I mean, I think if that's what people want to spend their money on, like, I'm not going to criticize somebody for that. It's just comes down to a personal choice. Right now, my commentary is this cigar is very, very enjoyable. It's smooth, it's rich, it's got some body. The finish is not particularly long, but it's long enough.
Yeah.
It's definitely medium bodied at this point.
The aroma on the burn line is cocoa all the way for me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's really amazing.
And I think there's a nuttiness about the smoke that I think is unique. As far as
agreed.
Cuban pyramids go, I think maybe BBF is the closest that gets a little nutty, but there's a smooth, mild nuttiness to this that
Yeah.
I
is
agree.
just so nice on the palate.
That's awesome.
And that, to your point about the burn line, it's so complementary. Like everything just kind of is kind of playing together,
And it's kind of sweet. And the other thing that's notable, I think, that's differentiating a little bit about from some of the other Cohibas that I've had is that this doesn't have that, at least it hasn't presented itself yet, that grassy note.
Yep.
No, not at all.
Yep. 100% right.
I agree. So
No.
I've just got to say, Puba's commentary right now for me is spot on. Like everything I'm thinking he is saying, in the sense that when you said this doesn't have a long finish, but it's just enough, I think that's what's actually kind of fascinating to me about this cigar. It's barely firmly medium, like barely. And what it's such a credit to it is like the flavor notes are so defined, like they're very clear. We can pick out each and every one of them, and it delivers just enough that it feels complex and it's really satisfying. And I feel like we don't say that about many cigars that are this kind of mild or light in body. Like it still holds, which is a credit to it. And Puba's point about that kind of grassy note that you get in a lot of some other Vitols of Cohiba, that is not a note that I pursue. For me, it brings like almost a bitterness to the
You don't
cigar.
like hay and
No,
grass?
I really don't. I mean, no, but I say that because some people that actually really pursue
They do
Cohiba,
like that.
they
Yeah.
love that. They really like it. And
Not tonight, though.
for me,
You're not getting
it brings a bitterness into the cigar, and the fact that like I think why, and who knows, maybe Poop and I are probably gonna be lockstep on our rating on this, but there are like Upman dessert like notes about this cigar. That is why I'm enjoying it. And I suspect you are too.
Yeah,
So honestly,
yeah, I'm in alignment.
Grinder, if you're a retrohale guy, so the most enjoyable part of this is the retrohale.
It's amazing.
Those Upman dessert notes you get tremendous on the retro,
It's so light to the retro hail.
but it's so
Incredible.
enjoyable,
So light.
very sweet.
And there's just there's like a hint, the faintest hint of dried fruit through the nose. It's like so faint, and it's a little bit of cocoa
That's exactly right.
and a little bit of like dried fruit, but like nothing's overwhelming each other. I would argue that it's balanced.
Yeah.
There's a lot of balance in this cigar for me right now. And to me, that the equilibrium that it presents in the experience in terms of I'm going to relax, I'm going to have this cognac, which we should talk about because I think it actually,
Pairs beautifully.
again, that this is another very serendipitous pairing, I think, because it's very complimentary.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the cognac. It's actually a good time to do that because I haven't taken a sip yet.
Cognac.
And
it's
I
very
have to
good.
say, the one thing I want to point to before we jump to the cognac is you said about the H. Upman number 2. And that cigar, for how brilliant of a cigar it is, the one we did on the podcast, we can go through the ratings. I got all the ratings of the pyramids we've done. that specific cigar needs a ton of age. I think smoking a less than a year old H. Upmann number 2 or a Partagas Series P number 2, it's not
No
gonna
doubt.
not gonna work.
You're
And what I
doing it-
love about this,
You're doing
right.
a disservice to that cigar.
exactly.
If you're smoking in less than 12 months
And
old.
what I like about this, and I think is a really good lesson for us and for the listeners, is picking up a cigar that's as expensive as this is and looking to this for a holiday cigar, an event, a birthday, an anniversary, a child's birth, whatever it may be. The fact that you can buy this today and it's smoking as good as it is young is really a merit to the cigar, where I think that a lot of the pyramids need more time.
It is, yeah. That's a fair point, and you could experience a maturation stage where actually this goes into decline
It gets worse for a while.
for a couple of years, and
Yep.
then actually picks up. So we could be previewing this just at the right time, where it could go into a maturation stage where it maybe it presents its youth a year from now even more, where there's like a dip and then an acceleration in the aging process, which is a normal thing.
Yeah, Min Ronnie talks about that quite a bit
Mhm.
in the Encyclopedia of Post-Revolution Havana
Yeah,
Cigars.
like you could pick this up in 2 years and be like, I can't believe this isn't as good as it was when I first smoked
yeah,
it.
it could go flat over time.
Well,
it kind of goes in waves, actually.
Yeah.
It-
Is that
it
right?
could-
Yeah.
It's not almost flat. It could present notes that just aren't as pleasurable and present its youth actually in a more pronounced way, where once it goes through this maturation process and you pick it up in 5 years or at the 6 or at the 7 or the 8 or the 10-year stage, but it could be it could be a completely different cigar. So I think, like, when you talk about the H. Upmann, like the Lub 14s, those, I mean, that is arguably, I mean, for me, it's arguably it's a better cigar than this.
There's no question about that.
because you can taste the age in the tobacco. There's so much richness and complexity that's going on there. It's just more complex, but it doesn't take away from how this is previewing right now and how pleasurable this thing is.
Mhm.
That's the thing I think that's really important about it, is how smooth this is young.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
For Cohiba
It's
tobacco
tremendous.
to be this smooth young is really surprising to me.
I didn't know. I didn't know there was this like bulking and cutting phase of cigar aging. I didn't
Yeah,
know
there's
it was-
several stages of maturation.
Wow.
And we can go through it in a future episode. I'll do some briefing on it and we can go through it. But there are periods where, it does well young and then it falls off for a year or two. And for every cigar, every blend, every
different.
type of tobacco, it's all
Yeah.
very different. So again, I think to Puba's point, I think we're hitting this at its first stride.
Yeah, if I may, I feel this is not for everyone though, this cigar. Putting price aside though, a guy that likes a fuller bodied cigar, I don't think that guy or gal is going to capture the subtleness of this cigar. It takes a little bit of experience to get to take this cigar and capture those notes. It's not for everybody.
It's amazing how like people start cigars when they start smoking cigars. They'll go to the mild cigars, right? They could just go to Connecticut Shade or whatever, and then they'll start to get into heavier stuff. But I find that, I think you guys know this as well, like a lot of the best cigars that with a more refined palate are most appreciated in the younger,
Exactly.
in the more mild
Exactly right.
cigar palate.
It's subtle. That subtle elegance is not captured by most people
Yeah.
because they take it for granted that it's a light cigar and they'll go through it really quick and move on to the next cigar.
Yeah, I think we all kind of went through that phase.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
early
think
on.
so.
We all
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
started like
Early on.
smoking, milder cigars.
Sure.
And then we.
Not
Senator's head is rolling.
No. I mean, I told you my first cigar I would smoke all the time was the
Punch
Alma-
Nicaraguan.
the Aroma de Cuba Mi
Aroma
Amor.
de
that's
Cuba.
it.
That's
Yeah.
a full cigar.
That's a
That
full
is a full
cigar.
cigar.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I remember smoking a lot of Avos in the early.
That Aroma de Cuba is actually a very good cigar.
it is.
Yeah.
We reviewed
Yeah,
it.
I like that cigar.
We reviewed it.
I think the journey of all of our palates, and I think actually Pagoda has most recently been talking about his palate
Yeah.
and it's changing even, in recent episodes. I think
Yep,
we've heard the
yep,
most from
yep.
Pagoda on that. I think we've all gone through that. And I'm certainly experiencing that now
Mhm.
with Cohiba and with some of the other Cuban cigars that I'm reaching for over what I was reaching for a few years ago. It's just, it's a constant changing of the palate. And I think it makes the journey very interesting.
It's a very important point. There was a point where I was smoking, like Padrones as an example, the Family Reserve exclusively. Now
I used to give you shit about that.
you did. And honestly, I had an Exclusivo and I went down the journey of the 64 line, and I haven't gone back.
Yeah.
There's a threshold moment that you reach, and you find that you get an experience of if you want to call it a milder cigar, a smaller bodied cigar, if you want to call it that, and you get the experience of a more elegant and sophisticated smoke. It's a revelation. So then you go down that path, and I've stayed in that path.
Yeah,
Honestly.
and to your point, I think just to build on that, let's talk about QD for a minute. And Grinder was a big advocate of QD,
Yes,
an
he
early
was.
adopter of
That's
QD
true.
within this group. And I'm not going to say that there were a couple jabs thrown, QD, until
Early on, there was.
until we started to try these cigars, and then we realized, you know what? There's a shitload of merit to the Vitolas within the QD line. Shitload. I won't go through them. We know what they are. You brought those to the group. And that's what this is kind of all about. And now, before I came in to the pod, I had a Coronas Claros. It's one of the best. That's one of the best cigars going.
It's the best QD.
It's awesome. That's awesome.
Great cigar.
Don't
It
forget
really
the
is.
QD50 is fantastic.
But after the Coronas Claro.
Yeah.
So I want to quickly, just because we pointed to, and then I want to get to this cognac, but I wanted to point to Pagoda because we were talking about the palate and the palate changing that you've talked about quite a few recent episodes. You've talked a lot about it. So having this specific Cohiba Piramides Extra in your hand with what we've just talked about palate-wise in mind and what your journey has been, what are your thoughts on the cigar, and how do you relate to what we're saying about the palate change?
You guys actually nailed it. I think I was reaching to Padrones a lot, I think, midway during my smoking experience. I have started smoking a lot of, medium-bodied cigars. I think the experience for this particular cigar has been a little bit on the milder side. But having said that, it's been very, very pleasant. And I know you and Senator and Pooba kind of mentioned that they're getting somewhat of a medium finish, short to medium finish. On the other hand, I think for me, I'm getting slightly longer finish. I think it's enveloping my mouth with a very pleasant, flavor profile. Which
I'm
I'm
right
really
there
enjoying.
with him.
I agree with him.
I'm with him.
I don't think it's a short finish for me.
No.
So for me, it's been, and it started off. I think, as you mentioned that you'd got a little bit of the salty, and I was thinking about it in the beginning, just in the very beginning.
Just
I think
on that
correct,
first quarter
yes,
of an
yeah,
inch. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I experienced a bit of the salty, taste. What I find very interesting is then I've been trying to understand the salty taste in different, even when we do certain Nicaraguans, we'll get a bit of the salty taste. With those, I feel they're somewhat more on the earthier side with a little bit of salty. It's a slightly different salty taste I get. But this, it feels slightly on the lighter floral side, which is very pleasant. And I think as soon as you get hold of the cigar, it's a Cuban for sure. It's like if you even if this were unbanded, you would know that you're smoking an excellent Cuban. Going through it, I felt a lot more of the nuttiness and the creaminess, which is somewhat has been prevalent throughout for me, and I've really been enjoying it. If you were to offer the cigar to me about just even a year and a half ago, I think I would have done what Rooster did with the ALR. I might because at that point in time I was smoking such strong cigars that I wouldn't have appreciated the flavor profile of the cigar.
Yeah.
And all.
Yeah. All good points.
Yeah.
I'll just say on the flavor notes that Pagoda was describing. So, number one on the finish, I think the first half inch of this, I would describe as a short finish. I think as the cigar has heated up and as I've gotten a bit further along, I do agree that now the finish is definitely lengthened, and I think even like the flavor notes have picked up. They're more pronounced than they started, which is great. The other thing that you mentioned, the saltiness that you get in the cigar, I actually think for me, it's picked up as I've smoked this, where like the finish is very salty.
I agree.
Good, like twangy, nice
I'm
way.
still getting that.
Yeah.
For me, it's continuing, and it's so freaking good.
It is. This isn't a criticism. It's somewhat one-dimensional so far. It's picking up, but like I like what it's delivering. Very, very much. It's kind of like I've talked about this before, where it's like when you smoke a cigar and it's this kind of approachable and so very Cuban. For me personally, there's this the relaxing feeling that comes over me. I'm having no construction issues. It doesn't have to be touched up.
You're not fighting
Like
it
I
at
get
all.
real. I'm not fighting anything. There's no draw issue.
Yep.
There's no. So like I'm not worried about touching up. I'm not worried about the combustion. The combustion is really good. The draw is really good. The build is really nice. And so that leaves you all this open space to kind of just focus on, on the delivery. And for me, what this is delivering is a very kind of mild to medium experience, but delivers a body and some complexity that really has a lot of merit that I think will just get exponentially better with time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
And would you throw age, like that aged tobacco component in this, where over time it's gonna get richer? It's a knock. It could, it previews like a knockout, like a Cohiba should preview.
What I like about the preview here, which again we've kind of touched on a little bit, is other Cohibas preview. You smoke a young Cohiba, you're getting a lot of that grassy kind of youth to it.
Not all of them, but yeah.
And it doesn't smoke the way that this does with under a year of age on it. And like you said, then it goes through that journey of maturation, and you hit it after a few years, and 5 years, 10 years after you have it in your humidor, and it becomes even more magical. But I think something that we have in our hand right now that's this young to have this experience is
special.
Is pretty great.
Yeah, I just want to mention one more thing. It's a lot of my friends smoke a lot of New Worlds, and they tend to lean towards the stronger, more bolder cigars. And for anyone who's trying this, I think if you were to listen to my journey, even over the year and a half, if you were to listen to some of the pods in the beginning, I should smoke more in that flavor profile. The one thing I do have to mention is that when you're going through the cigar journey, you've got to be open to trying a lot of different cigars and different flavor profiles as well, because you'll be surprised to find that your flavor profile can change, evolve, as a lot of the listeners would say over here.
Yeah.
But there's this possibility of you being able to really enjoy a lot of different types of cigars with completely different flavor profiles.
Yeah. What we said earlier is true. There's a threshold moment for every cigar smoker, and when they experience that cigar that has that lighter body but more elegant, sophisticated profile, it changes your trajectory.
When you're a new cigar smoker and you smoke a lot of the New World cigars, the flavors are more profound. So
They're easier to capture.
They're easier to capture.
Right.
So when you smoke Cuban cigars, it's a little bit of a different refined palate
It's
that
subtle.
you need. And the flavors are subtle. They're not as pronounced on most of them.
Yeah.
So as your palate kind of changes, you will get those. You'll get the Cuban tobacco flavors more.
Abuelo, well said. I mean, that's wisdom right there.
He's right.
That's
He's
wisdom.
right.
Yeah.
It's a very relaxing cigar to
It's
me.
awesome.
It's
It
a
is.
very
It's awesome.
easy, kind of easygoing affair.
The caramel I'm getting and vanilla on this spirit pairing beautifully with the cigar.
So speaking of elegance and sophistication,
Yes, sir.
we have a fantastic cognac with us tonight. It's the Camu.
Camus.
Camus.
Not
Well,
the Camus.
Dude, I even watched a YouTube video to not have
I'm
this.
going to need a refill on this Camus, please.
Sponsored by SeaWorld. It's Shamu's cousin Camu.
So we have the, what is it again?
Camu XO.
Camu XO cognac.
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 And she will be on exhibition in Orlando.
So, Senator, what's the story on this? Where did we get this? I've never even heard of this brand before.
So
This is great.
I've heard of it and I've definitely seen it before. You can find it at most liquor stores, but I had never tried any of their expressions before this and was excited when I had an opportunity. Someone was selling a bunch of stuff that they had procured over years' time, and they are not a drinker. And so when I saw the Camu XO, I said, all right, this is perfect for us to try on the pod. The Camu itself, the distillery, they've got a very, very long history. They started in 1863. They're known for their use of grapes from the Borderies region, which is one of the smallest and most prestigious regions within the cognac region. So, what's really cool about this XO, it's a single estate cognac, which means that all of the grapes that were used to make this cognac are from the family's personal lot in the Borderies region to make this. So it's like a single estate wine, essentially, right? Which you pay a lot more money for. All those grapes are just from that one plot, not from a bunch of different places that they purchase or procure and then blend together.
So it's like an estate grown wine.
It is. It is, which for cognac is cool because all these cognac houses, I mean, they're all blends from different parts of the cognac.
So none of the other XOs that we've had, to your knowledge, or
to my knowledge, the ones we've
the big
done,
houses,
they're
not.
I mean, Camu is a big house too.
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
To my knowledge, the other ones we've had, I don't believe that they. Maybe there's one exception to it, but most of them are not from one single.
Interesting.
So, question.
Plot.
So, like with Remy XO, is that's not like an estate?
I don't believe, which again is not a knock on the quality of any of these things. I mean, as much as we all pay a premium for any, kind of single estate wine, cognac, you name it, champagne, that doesn't always mean that it's better quality. It just means if that particular plot is really spectacular, then that's what you want in that bottle, and it's going to be
and that's unique.
Outstanding.
It's like unique unto itself.
It is,
and vary, and will vary, and I guess would vary from. I would imagine it would vary from release to release.
It would a little bit. I mean, the thing with spirits, it's easier for them, unlike wine, to be able to
create more consistency.
Correct.
Distilling process.
Correct.
Yeah. Where with wine, the vintage and the season and the weather really affects the grapes to a point where it can't be manipulated. It can only be manipulated, I guess, so much.
Correct. And the reason for that, so like with wine, there's a year on every bottle. And so the grapes in that bottle are from that year. In cognac or any spirit, Macallan 12, any scotch that we drink regularly, in this, for instance, the XO, this means that everything in here is minimum 10 years of age. And so some of what's in here may be 15, some even 20. And so they'll play with that balance to make sure that they can create that consistency. But in wine, you can't do that. You can't take grapes from 2016 and put it in a 2018 bottle.
Or it becomes a Meritage.
The Meritage is the blend of the types of grapes, but not the years. So different.
But it could be both, couldn't it, though?
No. So the Meritage will have a year on it, which means that every grape in that bottle is from that year.
Oh, I see.
But they're a blend of different grapes. That's what makes it Meritage.
So I have a question about the flavor profile of this, because I'm getting something, and I want to use a word that I'm not educated on, but I feel like it might be accurate. It has it's like very port forward. Like it has like a very port wine at the front to me.
Well, it's grapey.
It's very grapey.
That's kind of accurate.
It's got a port thing to it that the other XOs we've done
it's different.
Doesn't have. And I don't know if I like it as much as the others.
It's a little different. I kind of early on I said it was alcohol forward. That's probably what I was experiencing. Not that I don't like this because I happen to love this, but it is different than the other cognacs that we've had.
So it's an interesting observation. I'll just say the nose, I think you're actually 100% right. And port didn't pop into my head, but as you said it, the nose is exactly that.
But the nose is
very port-like.
Vanilla and caramel for
when
me.
You
on the
taste
nose.
it, I don't know that I taste port as much, but go ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you said that because I don't like port, and I don't like port forward anything.
All right,
and there was a taste. No,
Yeah, you want mine?
Yeah. Let me get there.
Yeah.
There was a taste, and I'm like, wow, this is unique and different. When I first tasted, I remember looking at you as I was sipping it for the first time, being like, damn, this is good. It's surprising because I'm recollecting the port. I'm tasting this, and it's not exactly port, but it's good. It's delicious.
Grinders on. And
No. I mean, I like it,
you,
but I don't like port.
Gizmo sophistication is coming through tonight.
Come on, boys. I'm refined.
This is crazy.
I think I think it is delicious, and I think
it's good.
The whole cognac journey that we've had on this podcast has been phenomenal.
So awesome.
It's like it's on me constantly. I just stocked my locker with more 1738.
Sure.
I
The Hein Rare.
It's in the Hein.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in
Good
my
one.
house. I have it around, and
Bam
You
and
know
I were
what I
just
like?
having Courvoisier before we.
Yeah, the
before-
VSOP.
We were.
You know what?
Honestly, that's sweeter than this.
It is.
There's a sweetness to that Courvoisier XO that we don't
It
get
is.
here.
Which honestly is because, look, we have to understand with cognac, this is why there is some criticism sometimes of cognac. The lower age statement expressions, VS especially, and VSOP even, there is more residual sugar that they add to balance it out.
Yeah.
So that it can drink smoother and it's not as aggressive because it doesn't have the age that the XO does, which it comes at a much higher price point where they don't need to do that. It is naturally much smoother.
And this is much more sophisticated, and there's a dryness to this that you won't get in that Courvoisier.
that's exactly right.
Right?
Yes, there is a dry finish
It's
on
awesome.
this cognac that when you look at if you drink a Remy VSOP,
100% correct.
there's a which creates balance, and I think in any great spirit or even in a cigar, you're looking for that balance, that equilibrium that you're kind of that even if you're not cognizant of it, it's there.
Oh yeah.
And you're appreciating it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, this is a very, very balanced spirit, and I think it really pairs well with this this is a very balanced cigar, as well. So I think the pairing is quite nice.
It's
I think what
wonderful.
I think what you
Quite
said
nice.
about the finish actually makes that thing that Grinder said, that port forward that I kind of expressed as not enjoying. I think the drier finish or whatever's happening in the finish, making the port kind of get out of the way that I'm tasting, is actually making it more enjoyable than if I was sipping some sort of port.
Honestly, after the 3 or 4 sips, that dissipates for me very quickly. And all I'm getting is on the nose. I get caramel and vanilla on the nose and a dry finish. And it's
But how great is that?
Dude, it's delightful.
How great is that?
It's delightful.
I mean, for me, this is one of the better cognacs I've had. You know, it's fantastic. Retiring after a dinner, this is so approachable and so not overwhelming where you're drinking something that's maybe a cognac that's too sweet, or like to Senator's point, that has added sugar or something like that. It's dry enough I mean, not to sound like a tool, but like if I was just to have a little like a Lindt chocolate truffle and drink this thing at Christmas after dinner and just have a little piece of chocolate. And
You've given me a lot of shit about eating chocolate on this.
well, that's
He said after dinner.
After dinner.
Yeah.
It's a dessert.
Okay. All right. Let me just point
I
that
didn't
out.
exclusively pair chocolates.
You've done about 6 hours of material on
I
my
haven't.
chocolate.
But we're not talking about.
He's talking about Lindt, okay? He's not talking about.
We're not talking about coming to
Costco
the. We're not
Oh, boy.
talking about coming to the lounge with
Bouchard.
Bouchard
And
a
wrappers in the ashtray.
Costco bag and eating nine chocolates while you smoke. That's lunacy.
Hey, it's a new year. We
Okay.
don't have to litigate this
Okay,
again. I'm off to
fine,
Bouchard.
fine.
Right.
I understand.
The wife's actually sent me a picture the other day. She was at Costco, saw the Bouchard. I said, do not buy it.
Do not buy it.
I swear.
I love
No,
that
but like
chocolate.
a piece of this. My point is though, this with like a piece of chocolate
No, it'd be
sitting
very
in your
nice.
lounge chair at Christmas. How nice is that?
nice.
Retiring.
So nice.
Retiring after.
Retiring is the right word. I feel like, I was kind of going to say it earlier, but I think now with the cognac pairing with the cigar, for me, it's like, this is like the winter time. You're sitting in front of a fire. Like it's the cigar cognac pairing is like a warm blanket right now.
Dude,
It's just so
So,
perfect.
it's perfect.
It's
very
ironic.
good.
It's
It's so
ironic.
good.
What
Very
he's
good.
saying is there's some irony there, because the cigar itself is a lighter bodied cigar. You don't tend to associate that with a winter smoke, but paired with this spirit, it's a great analogy. That warming, delicious blanket. It's so freaking accurate.
But this is a very
It's
approachable.
it's a home run.
but the spirit is so smooth. It's so comforting.
Yeah.
The cigar is very smooth and it's medium and it's just it's
Yeah.
very
Dare I
comforting.
ask? I have a question.
Uh-oh.
I haven't seen this in any liquor store. Do we know how much that bottle is, Senator?
Yeah, so every XO kind of ranges from 200 to
Oh, Jesus.
260.
Uh-oh.
This
Man, do you want to split
Yeah,
a
but
bottle?
the cigar's $125.
correct.
So,
I mean,
you know,
you get
how
one.
much?
You get one smoke out of this. How many? I mean, we've had 7 pours almost, or 6 pours of this, and we still have left in the bottle.
How much is that
for
bottle?
that price?
$250.
It's $240, $250. You'll find it at most places.
So Pagoda, what do you think of the cognac?
Cognac.
I'm actually enjoying it. You know what I was doing actually throughout while I was smoking the cigar was just smelling, like
Mhm.
taking a little sniff.
The nose.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good. I think I didn't even need to have a sip, and you already can. You kind of get a precursor in terms of what you're going to be. The approach was great.
Yeah, that's a great point
yeah.
because a lot of what we drink, we don't tend to bring to the nose and
Yeah.
take the time with it.
Yeah.
This is worthy of that, of taking your time.
Can I
really.
say one thing too about the cognac that I think makes the cigar work?
Mm.
Is I think that it's not terribly viscous. Like it's not a thick spirit for me.
Yeah.
And I think with the mild medium cigar that we have in our hand, I think it's actually the right pairing. I think anything more viscous might be a little overpowering for the cigar.
Agreed.
I agree with that. I think the reason I was very excited about this cognac, this cigar, we've all said it's not full, it's barely medium, it's like mild / medium, right? And this cognac in flavor is actually pretty powerful
It
and
is.
pronounced.
It is.
However, it's delivered in such a silky,
Mhm.
elegant, refined way. And I think this cigar I would describe
Just
as
like the
silky,
cigar.
elegant,
Just like
refined.
the cigar.
So like the two really kind of play nicely together for that reason, where I think to Gizmo's point, if this was more viscous, if this cognac had more body than it does and more bite and wasn't as approachable as Poop has been saying, it would overpower the cigar. And I think it's a credit to Camu and really, I mean, most of these XO cognacs that we've had, they're so refined and smooth and just approachable that I think like the versatility is incredible. Like you can smoke them, you can drink them with a Cuban, you can drink them with a New World and be just as satisfied. And with this cognac, I would just say, I think some of the flavor notes are very obvious, but there is complexity to this in the same way that we were picking out these random little faint notes that we were getting in the
Yeah,
cigar.
yeah.
Like I'm getting it, and it's validated somewhere like on the nose and even sometimes just very faintly in the finish. We were talking about chocolate. Like there's this little slight like chocolate note that you'll get out of this cognac married with the fruit and all the other flavors that we've been talking about. So
Yeah.
I just love the complexity with a cigar that I think despite not being all that full or even all that medium, it's complex.
A very sophisticated cigar. Yeah.
Has the shifted on anybody? Because there was a bit of a shift for me.
In the cigar?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're at what, right around the halfway point. I've found as it's heated up, as Senator said, I feel like what we've talked about earlier has just kind of been enhanced and it's been increasing. I'm not getting any harshness.
It's
yeah.
But it has
that
changed a little.
Change.
There's
Change is
been
the right word.
There's
Shift
been a
is-
little bit a shift, and I would argue it's just an increase in body.
I don't know.
That's
Puba.
the word for me.
Puba. It's the body's gone up, but it's still incredibly good.
very smooth.
Yeah.
Come on.
So what I will say, no, agreed. I'm retrohaling the cigar
Yeah.
on almost every draw.
Me
and what
too.
I'm getting is, and why I said this, as I stated before, it's kind of a serendipitous pairing because I'm just getting this overwhelming through the nose fruit. There's like a fruit forward on the cigar, which you don't get without the retrohale. So out the nose, the fact that we're this deep in on this big of a ring gauge cigar and that I can still retrohale this is a merit.
Huge.
Is a huge merit.
agree.
And that kind of paired with what I'm getting is a hint of orange in the cognac. It's not that pronounced, but it's there. It's a citrus orangey hint with that kind of little bit of cocoa that complements the cigar. It's really it's
a perfect night.
I will say
perfect.
that the pairing, having
Dude,
not had this before,
I think
it
you're right.
really works together very, very well. And if we weren't on a podcast right now, like, just ruminating on this, I would be sitting back, relaxed and almost not even talking in a fucking
You'd be
trance. In a fucking
Wait,
trance.
are you saying that
He
the
would be
podcast is
incoherent.
ruining your
No,
experience?
no,
right
no,
now?
no. Not
You'd
at
be in
all.
a cigar coma right
No,
now.
I'd be
Pleasure coma.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, I'd
pleasure
be
coma,
I'd
yeah.
be just relaxed with my kind of like with my head back, just.
Zen. Zen.
Yeah,
And I think that
Zen.
that's where you want to be.
Oh,
I agree with you. I think this is, and again, I can't get past, and I hope that, everybody in the room is agreeing, I think, with this comment, but I can't get past how young this cigar is for exactly what Puba just said and what we've been saying so far tonight, a little over halfway through. I can't get past how young this cigar is. It's
crazy.
unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Can I make an observation? I just want to say I am so impressed with this group. And I say this because I very recently, and we've all heard people say this, right? You meet people in a cigar lounge, anyone you're around cigars, especially folks who have not been smoking cigars as much or as long as we have. And they'll say things like, I can't get the notes that you get out of cigars. You hear that all the time.
That's true.
And all of us in this room, myself included, our palates have only gotten sharper over time. And it's not a factor of we're practicing anything or we've picked up some skill. It's just the more you smoke and enjoy these cigars, the more you become able to distinguish what you're getting out of one versus another. And I just say this because even cognac, something that none of us in this room were consuming before this podcast.
Cognac.
I mean, I'm listening to notes that are being called out that are just spot on. I mean,
Yeah.
Puba's sitting here saying
Orange.
there's this faint note
Yeah.
of orange and citrus.
Yeah.
They tell you faint notes of
there.
orange and citrus. Like
It's there.
everything that you guys are picking up is exactly what's reflected in that spirit. And I think the same thing about our conversation with the cigar. And I say this because I guarantee there are many listeners out there that maybe haven't been smoking as long or haven't dived into the Cuban world as much as we have and are looking to do so and struggle to pick out those notes. And it really is just reps. The more you try these things,
That's
the
the
more
word.
you're going
Reps.
to be able
Reps.
to
I
pull
literally
those
was
out.
going to say it's all about reps.
Yeah.
When you started
Reps.
that monologue, I was just going to say, I would
Yeah.
just say it's all about reps at the end of this. And you plugged it for me.
Yeah.
And when someone says that, your response is just smoke more cigars.
Yeah. Early and often.
Yeah,
I think
early
too-
and often.
But I think too, there's it's not an analytical element to what we're doing. It's the communal element to what we're doing. This
Wow.
conversation, this throwing the basketball to, each of the guys in the room or each of the guys that you smoke with when you smoke cigars. It's this sharing of experience that it's like everything kind of peaks this other level of what's happening with cigars.
Yeah.
and
And
cognac,
I mean, it's
you know?
even
True.
easier. It's even easier than working out, right? With cigars, you just need like 3 sets of 2 reps. And like 6 cigars later, like you're in.
But yeah, it's true.
We've just destroyed the entire fitness industry, by the way.
Puba,
this-
I have to
this-
say
this-
something before he says anything. So what Puba said a moment ago, what he described earlier is the ultimate goal for every cigar guy and gal. You want to get to the point where you're just laid back and you're the combination of what you're drinking and smoking takes you to another place. That's the ultimate goal for all of us. What Senator said, the reps get you there. So that's really important to just hone in on that.
Yeah, and they get you there and get yourself there regardless of what anybody else says, regardless of what we say.
And what you're smoking.
And what you're smoking. In other words, smoke what you like. And like if you like it, and if you like that spirit, if you like that cigar, do it. And that's what matters. It doesn't matter what everybody else likes. It doesn't matter what we like. And I feel like, just to build on that, like if we were out of this podcast and in the main lounge, this whole thing, this pairing, the conversation would be completely, we would be talking like this is good, and we'd have some commentary, but the whole thing would be tamped down. This is such a relaxing
It's
experience.
such a good point.
Like the whole thing would be like, oh my God.
Such a
like,
good
It would be a lot of holy shit, dude.
like, oh,
The other thing,
like wow, like I had a hard day. This is great.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you just be kind of like,
the other thing on that's really important, again, going back to like it honestly, it like pains me when I hear guys say, or girls, that they want to get the notes and they can't, and like they feel defeated. You want them to appreciate it the same way that you do. And the other thing that's key to that, this kind of goes to when Pooh is saying, imagine we were all having this experience out in the main lounge. When you're sitting out in like a big group setting and everybody's smoking and you're talking and drinking, that's not really when you're going to pick out all the notes you're getting in the cigar.
Absolutely.
Right. You are far more distracted by the conversation that's happening
Or the game on the TV.
or the game on the
Yeah.
TV than what's in the cigar. And I think the times that we are most focused on what we're getting out of the cigar and what we're pairing with it in terms of a spirit, it's when we're sitting in a room like this, a smaller group,
Mhm.
and the focus is what we're smoking and enjoying together.
And we're all smoking the same thing.
Right.
Correct. If you're sitting alone
Right.
Yes.
in your own home, your garage,
Rooster.
outside, in a lounge, whatever the case may be, that's the time that it's easiest for you to really focus on what you're experiencing. And that's where you start to build and train your palate to pick up those notes.
Yeah.
And once that starts happening, that's when, even when you're sitting in a group, but again, a group that's all enjoying cigars, not watching a football game where everybody's obviously the attention's on an entirely different topic. That's not when you're going to do that. So I also just think for anyone who's really trying to challenge themselves to be able to pick those out, you got to pick those moments to do it.
It's also a good idea to take notes when you smoke cigars. Like keep a journal or a cigar dossier
That's a great point.
and write down like what kind of notes you're getting.
The other thing is, like, if you're listening to the pod, so I think a lot of my friends feel that they're not able to identify the flavors. So they're getting certain flavors, but they're not able to identify and exactly pinpoint as to what they really are. But if you're listening to the pod while smoking the cigar, hopefully if you're just smoking alone, and then think about what you're getting and think about what all the lizards are getting, and then you'll begin to start identifying these flavors, and then you'll see that over a period of time you're able to identify the same flavors in different cigars that you're smoking over a period of
Another
time.
good point.
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to say too, now we're smoking a really expensive cigar tonight, right? But I think a very important thing that we need to share with our listeners is that price is not a factor in your ability to do what we're doing tonight. Obviously, we're sitting here enjoying a really premium Cohiba cigar from
We're
Cuba.
very lucky.
You don't need to spend $120 on a cigar. You don't need a Cohiba, and you don't need a Cuban cigar to do
No,
this.
you can spend $5.50
Exactly.
on an Oliva V Lancero
Or a Padron 2000
or a Padron
or an
2000.
El Senador.
Yep.
Correct.
Right.
And
Yep.
get a fantastic experience
Yeah.
and pick out distinct notes you're getting throughout those
Exactly
cigars.
right.
Price is not a factor.
Dude, I can tell my therapist she's off for the month. I'm good here. I'm good.
Hey, save some money and buy a box of
Oh,
Cohiba
yeah.
Piramides.
No doubt about it.
Well, it's almost like it's I don't meditate or any of that stuff, but certainly smoking cigars.
This is how lizards meditate.
Yeah.
This is how literally. Yeah,
Think
You're
about what
meditating right now.
Think about what you're
Yeah,
doing when you're
precisely.
smoking a cigar.
This
though.
is how
you're
li-
breathing. You're appreciating breath in a way. Hopefully you're not inhaling this smoke, but there is a
rhythmic.
physical, rhythmic element to it that you have to appreciate, and also there's a rhythm of the conversation. Lest we not forget that socialization is a driving force of evolution. Talking about the cigars with each other, that's what's driving the evolution of our palate, because we're getting insights from other people and then we're making connections. And those are the connections in the synapses that make us, get creative and recollect different flavors from our own life. And that's what's driving this.
Oh, yeah.
It's reps, and it's doing it with intent to enjoy it. And when you do that, you find this special magic where you can soak into the chair and appreciate the moment, because that's what it's all about.
And there's one other, we've been using a lot of R words. We talked about reps. Grinder was mentioning rhythm, and the other R word, there's a ritual to this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Right?
definitely.
And like that's also, I feel like whether you meditate or you do yoga or all these things that people do to try to there's a ritual involved in all of those things. And I think cigars are very much like that, which is why it kind of really just helps ground us and clear your head and
yeah.
just has so many benefits.
And I think a word that Poob has used a lot is the word sit, right?
Yeah.
Like we sat down tonight knowing that when we lit this cigar, forgetting the microphones, forgetting the recording and all that, this is going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours that we have committed to enjoying this experience together. And thankfully we're enjoying it. Could have been a nightmare and could have blown up and the cigars could have smoked like shit. Thankfully they didn't, but
we could have smoked grass for 2 hours.
We could have smoked grass for 2 hours. Some people are into that.
Yeah, they are. Nothing wrong with it.
But you know, it's a commitment to sitting down and doing nothing else than focusing on this. And I think it's really important.
It's amazing.
And we're very lucky to be smoking a cigar, you know, like a Cohiba Pyramid
Of this
which is
caliber?
of this caliber, and pairing it with this very special cognac.
So we need
Yeah, I
another.
mean,
Do we have another bottle?
you know,
Because I need a refill.
Yeah, I mean, well, to your point, I mean, gratitude.
Let's get on Drizzly.
Yeah, let's get on Drizzly. Gratitude too is a you know, is something I've been focusing on, not to get too, you know, deep, but you know, leading with gratitude in life, particularly, and I think this is a moment for that. I mean, like we're having a great cigar. I think, you know, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share this with my closest friends. And again, it puts you in the moment, and being in the moment and being present for you know, and sharing it you know, is really positive. And I think the cigar community you know, presents a venue and an opportunity for folks to meet on the level and
To gather.
and the cigar, to Senator, as Senator always say, is the great equalizer, because people have the kind of a similar agenda. You know, you go to a cigar lounge, you know, we have a similar agenda, which is really to, I need to transition, or you need to break up the day with this and transition out of regular life into the moment. And these kind of, you know, particularly this kind of a cigar with this kind of a spirit with these type of friends, for me personally, it
Very
creates a great
special.
moment.
I mean, on your point about gratitude, it really struck me, because I'm sitting here saying to myself, I'm grateful that we're doing this, and that Gizmo, you know, had the idea to smoke these, because I would never. I started by saying I've been the biggest critic of Cohiba, and I don't apologize for it, but that would have.
I think you should.
No, I won't go that far.
I'm
Because
kind of with him.
my
honestly.
criticism still
Actually,
stands.
let's stay in the moment. Let's not
Yeah,
create
let's
controversy
stay-
right now.
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
But my criticism stands.
Tranquilo.
But my point is, because of my frustrations with the brand, I never in my wildest dreams would have picked this up. Even if someone said, here's this for $5, I would have no interest in this cigar, because I would say to myself, Young and Cohiba does not mix. There's no way I'm going to have an enjoyable experience. And so I am grateful that obviously Gizmo loves Cohiba and has wanted us to do more of it on the pod. And I'm sitting here, we're in the final third of this cigar. It is just as enjoyable as the first 2/3.
It's incredible.
It's not showing youth. It's not showing any of the flavor notes that I have disliked in a Cohiba I've had in the past. And I mean, I would absolutely smoke this again. It's a fantastic experience.
Yeah. It's truly showing itself as a sophisticated Cuban cigar. No doubt about it.
And no youth.
No,
none
at all.
That's
No.
what, that's what
Yeah,
really
it's,
surprised
it's,
me.
you know,
Smokes with
it's
age.
weird because it's weird because I think that my hypothesis is that if you picked it up in a year from now, it'd be different.
It's
And
gonna
maybe
bite a
not
little
as
bit.
good.
I agree with you.
Mm.
I agree. I think that's been my experience with these over the past, say, 8 weeks or so, where I've kind of been trialing this cigar, looking for flaws in it, so that if I brought it, I wanted to bring something good into the podcast so that we could refer our listeners to spend some money on something that was going to work, that wasn't going to take, you know, the first third is great, and the last 2/3, you know, completely, you know, show that youth or bite you or whatever word you want to use. The fact that this has performed as consistently as it has for me over the past 2 months has been shocking. And I'm not surprised in anything that we've said tonight, because it's really been one of the biggest revelations for me,
Yeah.
you know, in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I also have
Yeah.
to say, I'm sorry, what shocks me is frankly the lack of respect that this cigar gets. And I just said that when you think of the Cohiba brand, you don't think of the Pyramides. You think of the Robusto,
Or
the
the Lancero.
Bahique,
And
the
Lancero,
Lancero. I don't hear
Siglo
Siglo 6.
Siglo 6.
Siglo 6,
I
of
don't
course.
hear anybody talk about this cigar And of any of those cigars we've just named that I've tried, this wipes the young,
Yeah.
wipes the floor with them.
Yeah.
None of the other cigars we named I would consider a great cigar young.
Right.
They're not. This is the only cigar that young. I mean, this is up there with any cigar young that I enjoy on a regular basis that I'm happy to spend money on.
Yeah.
And it's shocking.
It's shocking, but also it's presenting itself. And I will say this when we get to the review: you do not taste that aged. You do not get that kind of aged body that you'd get out of something.
Would you say that's a demerit, though?
No,
That's exactly it.
No.
Mhm.
That's
No,
what's
no,
amazing
no.
about it.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not a demerit.
Not a demerit.
It's
Right.
not a demerit, but but at the same time, it's not reached its full potential. And I blind, I would be confident in saying that this I would call it out as maybe something that doesn't have that kind of a note in it, because it just does. It's just not. It's just obviously not there.
Sure.
It's conspicuously absent from the flavorness of cigar. However, what it's delivered, considering the age on it, has been exemplary.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's
But
shocking.
the age will only help.
Of course,
Well,
of course.
that's
Well,
what
that's
Puba's
what I'm
saying.
saying.
Yeah.
It
But
would be
that's what's
phenomenal.
amazing about this cigar. Puba's saying
how
it's going to
good
get
it
better
is
with
fresh.
age, but the fact that it's smoking
good
this
fresh.
well right now
Yeah.
is absurd. I mean, honestly, like I cannot even believe with this little age.
I'm in the last third of this, and I'm not getting any ammonia.
You're
No.
taking
I'm
it
not
down.
getting. And
You're
I'm
taking
not,
that cigar down.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not. And let's put aside the construction, the build, the burn,
Which were
the
impeccable.
combustion, all that. Put that all aside, because that's all been exemplary, and that's not going to change.
That's not going to.
That's not going to change
No.
over
The
time.
flavor may adjust, but
so
yeah.
chalk that up. Chalk construction, build, burn, flavor, all that stuff. So it's not there yet.
See, the thing for me, if someone were to ask me how would you find utility in this cigar versus its price point, and you're saying, okay, if we're going to recommend this cigar, which I think generally we are right now, obviously we're getting to the rating, whatever. If you're going to buy a box of 10 of these or the Tubo pack of 15, the way I look at these, and I think I don't know if I talked to you about this the other day, Bam, or someone else here. This is one of those cigars that you buy that box of 10
Mhm.
and you pick a day each year to
Sure.
smoke one of
Sure.
them.
Totally.
Is it your child's birthday?
It's a
Is it
special
your
event
anniversary?
cigar.
Is
Yeah.
it your own birthday? Is it Christmas, New Year's, whatever it may be? You smoke one a year, and now over 10 years, you've experienced that same box of cigars once a year on that specific occasion that
Yeah.
really, really lights it up and shows everything that we're talking about tonight.
And by the 10th year, you'll be sitting there. What a bargain! I paid $100 for
Exactly,
the stick.
yeah.
It's now going for $500
That's
a
right.
stick.
And it will be, by the way.
So true.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike, by the way, and this previews, unlike a cigar that we all love. Like if you pick up a box of Partagas 898s and you try to smoke that cigar young, forget it.
No, it'll kick your ass.
Forget it.
Yeah.
It's a non-starter. And as much as we all love Partagas, that cigar needs time. Period.
I would put the Upman 2 in there. I would
Sure.
put the Upman Sir Winston in there. I would put
Sure.
most of those premium, let's call it even fuller bodied cigars than what we're smoking tonight
Sure.
in that category, that you cannot smoke them with less than 3, 4, 5 years of age
Sure.
just at the starting point. We have a cigar that's not even a year old and is giving us this experience tonight. That's what I think why I would recommend the cigar at $120 is it's working today and certainly is going to work in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
But do you think that Habanos is maybe changing that, because we have smoked quite a few young cigars that have performed amazing?
Mhm.
So I mean, what if we haven't really smoked an 898 from a fresh box lately?
That's true. Well, we haven't seen them. I
So-
haven't seen any 898s come up, but I think the important thing is, to your point, certainly Habanos blending decisions of recent releases have been really, really strong. Turquinos, Ramon Aonis number 3, certainly. But this is the same blend as when they put it out in 2012. The tobacco may be better. The run may be better. The construction quality control, to Puba's point earlier, might be better. But I think this is benefiting from not being in a 52 ring gauge. It's tobacco not stuffed in that 52. It's in a 54, has a little bit more length on it. That, I think, is a merit to that blending decision they made, 13 years ago.
What did
12
you say
years
the
ago.
ring gauge on this is again?
54.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, the 54, but it being a pyramid, it's like the fact that at the end of this probably smokes like
Yeah,
what,
48.
48,
Yep.
or probably maybe a 50 even.
Yep.
Like it enhances the experience, right? When we all got this cigar, I think every person in the room said, "Wow, that's
Yeah.
a big cigar."
It's intimidating.
It is. And I don't think any of us particularly love and chase a very large ring gauge cigar, but in this format, it's just
dude.
perfect.
Yeah, and look, I would challenge anyone in this room not to pick up this cigar, regardless of the cost, to have a tranquil experience. Right?
Absolutely.
I don't need
It's a special occasion
I-
cigar.
Well, not only I'm going the opposite. I don't need a birth of a child or a birthday or a project that I won or a great client. If I need a moment like this is going to deliver with this spirit tonight. What Puba and Senator hit on earlier. I just need a moment to really relax and completely decompress. This cigar does it. It does, regardless of the price. It does it at any time, and sometimes you need that.
It's true. And honestly, I mean, I'm trying to, as Bam Bam's saying that, I'm sitting here saying, like, I don't really know that I'm lighting up a $120 stick on
It's
a random
true.
night.
I know.
However, as I'm sitting here challenging myself to rationalize this,
Right.
there are actually ways to do it. I mean, if you think about like what people do to relax, like when they're stressed out, right? If you were to go like get a massage for an hour, you're spending $120. You're going to smoke this cigar for an hour and a half minimum.
Yeah.
Not in Cuba.
Inflation benefits there.
Oh,
yeah. And in a place with labor laws,
That's
you're
right.
going to pay for a nice massage,
Yeah.
$120. And that's going to be for 50 to 60 minutes. And so the fact that you get an hour and a half minimum of a fantastic experience that just relaxes you and allows you to really decompress, there are ways to rationalize what Bam is saying.
100% agreed.
I think this cigar would be better after a massage either way.
Don't factor that into your rating, please.
Maybe smoke that cigar while you're getting it.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's even better,
I like
yeah.
that.
That's a bit of a crime, but okay. What's interesting is we all have this incredible cigar. It's about 3/4 of an inch done, and most of us are still really enjoying this cigar.
I'm not going to put it down until I have to.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's
It's
again,
outrageous.
I never take cigars. I'm not, Bam will have a roach clip
It's
basically,
true.
like a perfect draw.
It's true.
I mean, I've got like a half an inch of this thing left, and it's still performing flawlessly.
It's crazy.
I'm not getting ammonia. I'm not getting a ton of youth. It's just picked up in strength in a nice
Yeah.
way. I am really genuinely shocked.
And Grinder took it down to
I
about a
took it
half
all the way
inch.
down.
Very
Yeah,
impressed.
Well, not all the way down, but
And
for me,
Puba still
That's
got
all
it.
the way down.
Yeah,
but
that's-
I had a shallow cut too. Like mine's all the way at the tip.
Now you're good, man.
That's pretty.
The one thing, Puba touched on it very briefly, but the construction, the burn line, there was very little touching up. I don't think I heard almost anybody in the room reaching for their lighter
Not ever.
to blast
I
it.
I did
haven't
once,
seen
but
anyone do that.
probably not.
I did it once
necessarily.
because I was talking and I just wanted to give it a little bit of a correction. But as far as the consistency of the construction and the burn line, again, for a cigar this young is kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Performs so well. Pagoda, what do you think right now?
Yeah, no, exactly the same. I was just thinking, it self-corrects itself in terms of the burn line. It's been fantastic. There was a moment over there I thought I was far ahead of everybody, so I didn't smoke for a bit. So I had to touch it up.
That's called discipline,
Oh,
boys.
discipline.
I mean, the fact that nobody has ash on them from this cigar.
I
mean,
did, by the way.
Well,
Oh, but,
all right.
but
But
that's
Do I
decent.
count?
Yeah, that's a given.
So my first ash fell off perfectly into a stack of dimes right
his
on
leg.
my leg.
Well, I have-
And
I have a photo
Bam,
of that.
Bam has a picture.
Oh, nice. This has been an excellent evening here, boys, on
Isn't-
both the cognac and the cigar. I mean,
Yeah.
and a coincidental pairing. You hadn't had. Have you had this cognac prior?
No,
to this?
no, I hadn't. But I always I look up at least notes to try to make my best guess as far as something that would or wouldn't pair.
Speaking of notes, are there any notes on the box, the flavor notes on the box from the cognac? I love when we read
To see how accurate
what
they are.
what
Yeah.
the manufacturer says that we're supposed to be getting from the spirit, because I'm curious how accurate it is.
So the only thing they have on here, it says Camu Borderies XO is distinguished by its delicate violet and vanilla aromas and its smoothness on the palate. That's
Yeah.
all it says.
Dude, vanilla's very accurate.
Yeah,
It's
It
right
vanilla
is.
there.
The thing is, when you go on their website and look at the notes that they call out today, I feel it's far more descriptive and accurate. I mean, everything that was discussed here, the fruit notes that you get, the citrus that Puba mentioned, the very faint bit of cocoa that I meant, like all of it is there. So I do give them credit in the sense that I don't think there's anything that they've called out that we would sit there and say that's, it says violet. Like there are some floral even qualities to this cognac.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that they mentioned that we would say, what are they talking about? This is fruity decadence, like that ridiculous singleton or something. So they've done a good job, I think, overall.
Yeah, it paired very well. I mean, very well, because the notes in the cigar, there was some fruit, there was some dried fruit, there was some cocoa, there was really like I said, it was a very appropriate pairing, and it happens a lot that we kind of stumble into these things, and maybe it's just the folks here are making better decisions around what we pair with, or
the review panel,
or we're just getting
committee.
lucky, or we're just getting lucky. But I don't think it's luck. I think we're thinking about these things a little bit more prescriptively, as we move down the line. And
Senator's very proud about that statement, by the way.
No, I am. I'm sorry. Look, I
the Gizmo's taking credit. Look at him. I love it.
The thing is, so whenever everybody knows that's listening to this podcast, I'm a big wine person. So for me, pairings are incredibly important, right? You go to dinner, people usually hand me the wine list, say, pick a good bottle of wine that's going to pair with whatever.
By the way, we do that when we go to restaurants and you're not there. We send you a picture.
Correct.
And say,
I've gotten photos from almost everybody.
Everybody.
Person in fact, I think actually every person in this room asking for a
True.
wine record, and I'm happy to do it. That's what this is all about. But very seriously, to Puba's point about being a little bit more intentional, because I think we've all experienced frustrating pairings where we've just kind of randomly paired something. I am very on top of what are we pairing and do we have a plan, because it's you want it to complement and enhance the experience. And when it doesn't, it really detracts from it. So I'm glad that I think we've been more intentional about it. And I think it's just to the listener, just emphasizing how important it is to pick something, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, right? We've done non-alcoholic pairings too that have scored really, really high. It's just being intentional about what you're going to consume with the cigar to really enhance it.
Yeah.
And I think the cognac journey has been a revelation.
Oh, yeah.
Even VSOP and up.
Yeah.
We've found some really, really exciting pairings, even with inexpensive cigars, inexpensive cognacs, that have really been really, really special.
I'll just say it now. I think that cognac, as a category of spirits, has the highest batting average of any category within spirits that we've reviewed.
100% agree.
How many bad scotches or bourbons have we tried? It's not to say
lot.
we consume probably more scotch than anything.
That's right.
However, just from a batting average standpoint, I mean, there are a few cognacs that we have not liked. I think the overwhelming majority we've been.
I think the only one we didn't.
Very
I think
few.
the only one we did not like
the Douce
was the Douce and the Hein
The
VSOP.
The standard Hein.
The
Yeah.
standard
No,
Hein
yeah,
VSOP. We
yeah.
didn't love
the
that
taller
one.
bottle.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
that in
the rare
Hein's
was good.
defense, that bottle, which is why they make two VSOPs, the Hein Rare VSOP that's meant to be sipping. In their defense, they actively say that is meant to be a mixing cognac. It's not really designed to be a sipping spirit.
Right. Right.
So, boys, we're coming to the end of our evening here with the Camu XO and the
Camus.
Camu.
How do you pronounce it?
Camu.
Camus.
Camu. Camu XO and the Cohiba Piramides Extra. Any final thoughts here before we move into our ratings?
That's an incredible night.
Yeah, I agree.
It's that simple.
All right, let's do the rating on the XO. Bam Bam, you're up.
I need to sip first. Hold on.
Do it in the mic so everybody can hear it. That's a
You drink it-
legitimate
I
sip.
just,
That
I
was a
just disgusted,
legitimate.
I just disgusted Puma.
Are you drinking a fountain soda from Sonic? Or you, what are you
Well,
doing?
I need to be dramatic with this thing.
Okay.
It truly is a sophisticated experience, this Camu. The vanilla notes on the nose and how it paired with the cigar, regardless of the price. I wish we would have done this during the holidays because this is a great post-Thanksgiving drink.
Yep.
Great Christmas Eve drink, New Year's Eve. It is truly a home run. I got to give it a 10.
All
It
right.
has to be a 10.
Grinder.
I'm giving it a 9. I thought it was delicious. I don't know why 9 versus a 10. Probably because I think a 10 is a really hard one to pin down.
You're a tough customer.
But it was delicious from the first sip. I think when I took that first sip, I kind of looked around the room and was kind of making those like, damn, like, the stinky face, but in a good way. That was like good. Yeah, I'd say all those notes that you guys have been reflecting on are very valid. I was pleasantly surprised with the port flavor, but it was so
It's subtle.
subtle and soft that it really, when you mentioned it, I was like, wow, it's there, but I like it. And I thought that kind of nuance and surprise was really delicious. And to your point, it's a cozy, warm drink.
Very cozy.
So I think, in a warm setting with warm lighting, with good friends, it's hard to beat.
It's incredible.
Pagoda.
I'd rate it a 9 as well. I think I really enjoyed it. What I really enjoyed was once again bringing the glass to my nose and just smelling it. Very, very. It's an excellent aroma. I was taking a puff of the cigar and just getting a bit of the aroma of the cognac. It was fantastic. No harshness at all. While it was somewhat of a dry finish, but still. Very flavorful in the mouth. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
9 for me.
I have to say, you don't get an opportunity to drink something like this very often. It's really quite a special experience for me.
Senator.
So I started debating between a 9 or a 10, but I've landed in lockstep with Bam. I'm at a 10. And the reason I say that, we've all commented how smooth this is, which is what you would expect from an XO cognac. But what really stands out to me is this is really robust in flavor. And to be able to do that and deliver this as smoothly as they have, I also think that Camus is this flavor profile, which is new to me. I've never tried anything that they make. It's very defined and distinguished within the category. Like I now would know what a Camus cognac tastes like, and I like the flavor profile.
Yeah.
I think we've done some cognacs where I'm forgetting the one it was. One was super cherry forward, and I think some of us even went as far as saying like a little like cough syrup or cough medicine, and that wasn't really actually it might have been one of the Martells that we did. Like it worked, but it wasn't something I would pursue that aggressively. I don't think any of us have picked up a bottle of Martell since then. This I would definitely pick up, and I think as Bam said, it's something for an occasion that is absolutely worth enjoying. And I do think for as robust as I'm describing the flavor profile you get from it, there's complexity. You're getting multiple notes. This is not like a monotone 1 or even 2 note cognac. There's a lot here, so I'm at a 10 and I would definitely drink this again.
Yeah, I'm also at a 10, and primarily because of the balance. There was an incredible. I think whether you're drinking a well mixed cocktail or whether you're smoking a cigar, that for me personally, balance is key. The dry finish in combination with the kind of the fruit notes up front in that quintessential kind of cognac flavor profile, along with all the other flavor notes that everybody talked about, really the dry and the sweet really made it for me. I enjoyed it, and it was balanced. And I think that in a cocktail or in a spirit, when you kind of achieve that balance, that where you're like, you know what, like this is, if you're on a seesaw and you're kind of at equilibrium with it in its delivery, you can't ask for much more than that.
Very true.
And there are probably cognacs that are maybe more dynamic. That there are, I'm sure there are, that are more dynamic in their delivery or more, indulgent or whatever.
There may or may not be.
There may or may not be. But for me tonight, this presented a really balanced spirit and a really nice experience. So I'm going to give it a 10.
Okay. So I'm going to give it a 9. So the reason why, the port forward thing, as we've kind of talked about a little bit, took away for me a little bit at the beginning. And I also feel like the Remy XO is a step above this for me.
Really?
The Remy XO is a step above for sure. Especially for me as I pair it with a cigar, even a cigar that's mild medium as this is, or something that's a little bit more full. I'll take the Remy over this any day.
You're
if you were to give me both.
You're very analytical tonight.
Just tonight.
Is he?
Well, I don't know.
The Remy XO's outstanding.
It's incredible.
It's outstanding, but it's different.
It is
I'll
different.
let
But
Giz finish, and then I want to.
So it is different,
respond.
but it's more in line with my palate. And that port thing that we talked about does push it down a little bit. That port, whatever that thing is on the front of it, it just doesn't work for me as well as some of the other cognac that we've done. So this is a 9 for me. And that puts the formal liquor rating boys at a 9.5.
Wow.
Excellent.
Excellent score.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent score.
Oh, yeah.
Senator, your rebuttal on what I said.
No, I just want to say quickly. No, it's not a rebuttal in that. I don't take issue with the
Your
9.
argument, please.
Dun 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 dun.
A 9 is a great rating.
People
I have
score.
no problem there, and we all have different palates. Some more refined than others. So
come on.
That's a little
That's
hard.
not nice.
The only part that I think you've missed that I do want to point out, I don't like the comparison of this directly to Remy XO in the sense that they're competing for the same thing.
But it's a completely different spirit, though. It tastes and drinks like a different spirit than that, Remy.
That's where I'm going.
100%.
They're not competing. Like the flavor profile of each is so distinguished that to me, you're reaching for either of them at different occasions when you're looking for the notes that they deliver. Like there are some cognacs that drink extremely similarly in flavor profile. Like I would argue that Hennessy and Remy seek similar profiles, and I just think that Remy has done it a bit better than Hennessy has. And so for me, they're competing for space, right? The two of them are going head to head for the same occasion. For me, this is distinct enough that I'm not pulling for this at the exact same time that I'm thinking of Remy XO. And so both of them are happily a 10 because they serve different purposes.
So for me, my counter to what you're saying, though, is that I'm not going to stock multiple bottles of $250 XO cognac.
No.
I'm gonna-
Just cigars.
Just cigars.
Right. But you'll have one
I'll have one.
or two.
And that's why it is comparative for me. Even though their audience or target may be different, it is comparative because when I go to the liquor store, I'm not buying both. I'm buying one.
Correct.
And the one I'm going to buy is the Remy over this.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they're like, your point is very valid.
You're looking at it from a point of view of economy.
Of course, I'm not
Well-
going to stock $500 and $750 worth of cognac in my tower.
Sure you will.
No.
For
I'm
this
going to have
experience?
one XO. I'm going to have one XO in my tower.
Okay.
It's going to be Remy.
All right.
You're storing your cognac in your tower?
I have a cognac tower.
What?
With one bottle.
We
It's
need
right in the middle with lights on it.
It has only one shelf.
Are you actually doing that?
No.
Because I need an hour of atonement from you. What?
All right, boys, it's time to do our formal lizard rating on the Cohiba Piramides Extra. Rooster, you're up.
Yeah, so it's amazing how good the cigar is. I'm looking at Bam's.
So Bam, by the way, for the listener, he
He's
has
having
his
a
perfect
kebab.
draw out. He has maybe an eighth of an inch and about 3/4 of an inch of ash on it.
5 millimeters.
I cannot stop smoking this cigar. I can't.
It's amazing cigar. I mean, it's for how fresh this cigar is, and knowing that the Cohibas need a lot of age, it was pretty much a shock that how good it performed.
Very
It
much
was,
so.
there wasn't a lot of tobacco in it. It was light. The construction was impeccable. So I'm gonna give it a 9.
All right. Puba.
Great cigar, great build, great construction, great combustion. Really, really nice. The flavor profile was terrific. Thought it previewed well. I give it a 9 all day. I think in time it'll only get exponentially better.
So for me, this cigar is a 10. Absolutely. All day, every day. This cigar is, to me, the best of Cuban tobacco. Young, with age, with a medium amount of age. I can't believe how much I've been enjoying this cigar. I'm so happy that we enjoyed it to the level that we did tonight. I don't think you can beat this cigar with under a year of age on any Cuban cigar out there. I just don't think it can be beat.
Yeah.
This delivered such a sophisticated experience tonight. Absolutely 1000% a 10 for me all day, every day. Senator.
So I agree with you that it's hard to beat the experience that this delivered young. I have no dispute there. The only thing I will say is that why I'm at a 9 and in lockstep with Rooster and Puba is I do want more from this cigar. I mean, at no point did we say this is like a firmly medium cigar, which is what all of us really pursue at a minimum. We're all cigar smokers, medium full, and full. Those are usually what we pursue for, depending on the time and occasion that we're looking for. And so now what's encouraging to me and where I can see this eventually getting a 10 is I do think with age, maybe this will build a bit and deliver a firmly medium experience, and that would be a 10. But that's the only reason for me. I never even toyed with a 10 in the sense that the flavor, the body of the flavor in this cigar needs to get stronger for this to hit a height like that.
Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt. It doesn't have that X factor right now to give it a 10.
I don't know.
It doesn't have that factor.
I don't know.
I don't agree.
It doesn't have the X factor where where aging comes into play and the cigar presents itself in a more actually in the way it should be presented. It previewed fantastic. But its full potential is not yet realized. Which is why I'm firm at a 9. It's just not there. That's why I couldn't give it a 10.
Same. And the things I will say as far as why I gave it the 9, the construction, burn, and combustion were flawless.
Exemplary.
Outstanding. The notes you get in the cigar are notes that I pursue. Honestly, they're not even notes that I traditionally associate with Cohiba. I mean,
It's
just
true.
being very honest,
That's a true statement.
this to me smokes. There are more Upman-like notes in this
Yeah.
than there are Cohiba notes.
There are more Upman notes in
This
it.
cigar is an outlier.
Which
It's
is
an
why
outlier.
I loved it. Right. So if these were just pure, straight, traditional Cohiba notes, there's no way I would have given this a 9. That's why this is one of the only cigars in the Cohiba portfolio that I would actually pursue and want to smoke again. And I'm very excited about the potential of, with some age, having never had this before. I would love to see with 5 years what this thing smokes like.
Yeah.
And the complexity, despite it not being firmly medium, being milder, it was still very complex in the presentation of all those flavors. So for all those reasons, it's a very strong 9, a very strong recommend. I can't wait to try another one of these cigars, but I'm holding out for and hoping that it will hit more body to really just bring together this experience in a more complete way, which would give it the 10.
Exactly. It didn't deliver the depth. It didn't deliver that depth that you really need.
Well, it's a good thing we have 3 other
doesn't.
reviews in the room. Coming up, by the way.
But all those
I have
notes are
nothing
there.
to say now.
All those notes are there.
This is a 3-way conversation.
Sorry.
Wait, who's next?
Sorry.
Who's next?
All right, so Pagoda.
All right.
I've been debating between a 9 and 10 all throughout. I think I'm going to give it a 10 because
Hey!
and there are a couple of reasons why. One of them is very simply that look at where the cigar is for me,
Yeah.
and I think in most people's hands.
It's also unusual.
If you try and pull a cigar all the way to the end and then you're still seeking something, then maybe from my perspective, I think this is something I've really enjoyed. The other thing is, this is also, like I've said, while my palate is evolving over a period of time, I've really enjoyed the cigar from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And considering that this is not within my flavor profile and it's milder to medium, and it's still something that I'm smoking right till the end.
So that's an
Without-
incredible statement right there.
Right?
Yeah.
Without
Right?
without anything, then it is a 10 for me.
Yeah.
And so having said that, it's a 10. Yeah.
Grinder.
It's a 9 for me for all the reasons cited for those that gave it a 9. I would also say that I think you guys. I think it's quite an accomplishment to say a Cuban cigar is a 10 without any age. It's dubious in my opinion, but that's my opinion.
All right.
Bam Bam.
Bam is he's smoking more ash than cigar.
Almost. I need
It's
another-
good ash though. It's
I need
good
a dra-
ash.
Hold on. I need a drag before.
Oh, your lips are burnt, bro.
Oh, it's so good. So I have to disagree with the 9s in the room.
There you go.
Yeah, I like to I like to experience a cigar in 3 ways: at the burn line, and at the draw, and on the retrohale. And this cigar delivered in all 3 facets impeccably. On the burn line, I got incredible cocoa aroma. On the retro, a lot of dessert notes, and on the draw, that quintessential salty Cuban note, right down to the 1/4 of an inch cigar that I'm smoking now. Regardless of the price, I have to give it a 10. I
But-
have to give it a 10.
Don't you think there is room for improvement?
Will this get better in a year? I don't know.
Not a year. It
Both
needs- it
Puba,
needs more.
Senator, and Gizmo, I'm sorry, talk about this sine curve where this cigar could experience an up and a down as it ages. Right now, for what it is, it's an absolute 10. In 2 years, it could be a 9. In 3 years, it can go back up to a 10.
Would you
We don't
like
know.
that to have any more body than it does right now?
No, because of what Puba said earlier, and I'm in lockstep with him because of the way. So look, there aren't many cigars where I can retrohale, get an incredible experience on the burn line and on the draw. That's unique and rare.
I
So-
can,
and get a head
I can
It's
name,
unique and rare.
I can name 20
Well,
that we've reviewed in this podcast. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying.
are you sure?
I'm just saying. Well, no. I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
There's room for improvement.
No,
Yeah,
so the thing is,
maybe,
we are rating the cigar
maybe.
for what it is today, right? Like our experience today for
Right.
what we're
Which
smoking.
is it could improve a bit.
Here's
for
my-
the guys, yeah,
We don't
and
know.
that-
Ten
it's
says there's
reflected
no
in
room
the
for
score.
improvement.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
know if it's going to improve in a year or 2. You just
It
don't
will.
know. For
No,
what it
we-
is
we-
tonight,
will.
it's a
It's
10.
not about
Most-
whether we know. It's that we
most
want more body.
definitely.
We want a medium experience out of the cigar. And frankly, Cohiba Robustos or even Cohiba Lanceros I've smoked, I would say are medium. They're not mild.
Yeah, I mean, have you had an aged Cohiba?
I have not.
I have.
I have not.
I have.
I have.
So
I have.
what
I
I will
have.
say is this, at its young age, competes with the best of Cohiba.
No doubt.
It does.
Now, I've had a young Lancero, which I loved, and I've only had a young Coro in Cuba several times. They were delicious, but nothing like this.
So let me just say the formal lizard rating, boys, on this cigar is a 9.4,
Fantastic.
which I think is a
and
very.
which is an accurate score.
I think that's an
yeah.
appropriate score.
Yeah,
So
and the composite makes sense.
It does.
It is an accurate score because at a 9.4, it's closer to a 9 than it is a 10.
Fair enough.
I think he rounded up.
so
by
we've
the way.
done. We've done.
Nine,
Oh,
three,
I
God.
I think
9.38.
I actually think at 94 is
It's
fair.
appropriate.
It's a fair
perfect.
score.
Yeah.
So that's my issue with the argument of 9 or 10 in the room is that for me and for Bam's experience, and Pagoda giving it 10s, like for me, yes, it might improve. It might be more interesting. It might be more full. Those things aren't interesting to me today.
Yeah.
What was interesting to me today was the fact that we had a cigar that's under a year old that performed as brilliantly. I would argue the cigar tonight, the way we smoked it for all 7 of us, was absolutely brilliant.
It was brilliant.
That in and of itself is worthy for me as a 10.
All right.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
if you go back to, let's say, if you had a Cohiba same Cohiba when it was first released.
I have
in
those.
2012.
I have 10 of those from 2012. I'll
Right.
take the one I smoked tonight over the one from 2012.
Are you going to distribute
ahead.
those to us
No.
to test?
So
I think we need to rate that too.
Yeah, we do. Please.
yeah, we should have done an AB. No, I mean, I personally think that Cohibas do need a lot of age. I mean, we're kind of lucky that how well the cigar was for what it was. I
Very
mean,
lucky.
otherwise it would not have gotten
Yeah,
a 9.
we're
I
fortunate.
think 9
Yeah.
is a very high score for
Yeah.
what
It is.
is.
And to be clear, even with my
Yeah.
9, this is the only Cohiba that I would say is great young. The only one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The Lancero young, I think it's good. I don't think it's great. I think it needs time. The Robusto, I don't even call good. I think it just park it and let it sleep. I'm there. I don't even want to touch a young Cohiba Robusto. The Siglos, some of them are good young, but they're not great. This is the only truly great cigar, and for me, just wasn't spectacular in hitting literally every single thing that I personally look for in a cigar for my palate.
So, I mean, we gave an Upman 2, a Love
was about-
14, a 10.
I know. I was about to go there.
So how,
And
I mean,
totally
it-
deserving.
Yeah, it
So
is
let me-
100% deserving. It's a different
So
cigar.
how would you compare that cigar to this Cohiba tonight?
No comparison.
Yeah. Well,
So here's what I would
don't
say.
know.
So let me go through a couple things.
No
let me just
comparison.
pause the conversation for a second. So this is the third Cohiba we've done on the podcast. We did the Siglo 2 on episode 24 that got an 8.0, and we did the Lancero on episode 78, which got a 9.6. So that edged this by 0.2 of a point,
that was an incredible
and that was
experience.
a
That had age on it.
Yes, it did.
2021.
I
It was
know.
only 2021, so it was only
Not
2
a
years
lot of
age.
age.
Oh, that's
We were
still-
drunk when we rated that.
No, come on. That's an incredible
So
cigar.
we're
then-
gonna time out. Just
What?
quickly on that. Are you going to tell me that Cohiba Lancero was better than this cigar we just smoked?
No.
I
That's all
think
I'm saying.
They were in lockstep for me.
Okay. You know, I'm aligning with Gizmo. They
splitting
were in
hairs.
kind of
What?
lockstep.
So
Bam's
in the-
changing his.
I am. I'm not changing my rating. I'm changing my opinion.
In the Battle of the Pyramids, let's go through the Battle of the Pyramids because now this is one of the only Pyramids we hadn't done. So the Diplomaticos number 2 we did on episode 44. That was a 6.2. The Monte Cristo number 2 we did on episode 28.
That was good.
That was an 8.4.
Yeah, that's good.
The Partagas Series P number 2 was on episode 36, was
That's
an
good.
8.7. And the H. Upman number 2 from 2014, nearly 10 years age now, from episode 40, got a 9.8. So
And
again, going back
Pagoda's thumb ratcheting is actually very accurate. He's over there like this.
from
Very
Pagoda,
accurate.
Pubas.
Puba, yes.
from Pagoda, day one with the composite lizard score, the 9.4 tonight, I think is appropriate compared to an 8.7 on a P2 from Partagas and a 9.8 from H. Upman number 2.
In
I think
fairness,
it works out.
In fairness, the composite score never lies. So
All right.
I'm very,
True. There
I'm
we
very
go.
happy with where the
Very
composite
true.
score landed. Very true.
And I was debating between a 9 and 10, and for me, what it was is that when I go through a lot of the Cubans in particular, and when they're milder to medium bodied, a lot of them just don't fit within my flavor profile, and I don't smoke it to the nub. This is one of those few that I did smoke it all the way to the nub,
Yeah.
and you guys saw it, and I was really enjoying it. The construction was flawless.
Yeah.
The burn, the smoke output, the draw, you can name 100 things about it, the flavor profile, and it was very, very steady, and I really, really enjoyed it. So for me, today I upped it to a 10, but I think the composite score is fair.
Exactly. And both Pagoda and Senator, the composite score reflects accurately that Upman 2 that we had. Overall,
It edged it.
and it should
Sure.
edge this
should.
cigar.
Sure.
It should, and it
Big
did.
time.
Can I
That
just
was
say?
an incredible cigar.
Big time.
Can I just say?
Incredible.
My favorite cigars and moments that we have are when we have to debate
Yes.
a 9
Yes.
versus a 10.
Yes,
That
it's a
means
good thing.
we
Yeah,
have
I mean,
had
it's
such a
incredible night.
spectacular
The
experience.
polarizing nature of the cigar makes it compelling.
But
Yeah.
to me, I mean, this cigar.
Well, I'm sorry, it's not polarizing.
Well,
That's not what it is.
Okay.
This cigar, flavor wise, was not a 10 for me.
Okay.
I think it was lacking that complexity that you would get with age.
Yeah.
With like at least
It's not that.
7,
It's
8
not. It
years.
just does. It's
Yeah.
shallow. It's not as deep.
But,
it was
again, the
but it
composite
previewed-
number
it
is
previewed
very
great.
accurate.
Previewed phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, as well as any cigar, as well. it's the best young cigar we've ever smoked in the podcast.
100%.
It's the best
Cuban.
young Cuban that we've ever smoked.
Correct.
There's no doubt about that.
Correct.
But
Agreed.
but you know, if we're talking about overall ratings, you know,
But
you know where I stand.
But by the way, considering that it's a 9.4, you've got to really understand that when 7 people are rating a cigar, that over a 9.5 is a very, very,
Oh,
very good score.
Truly
yeah.
Between
elite.
7
It's an
people.
elite cigar.
So this is right about there, and having said that, it does
Exactly.
reflect the opinion of 7 people.
yeah.
So, to Pagoda's point, the XO tonight getting a 9.5. Let's just briefly discuss the other XOs we've done. The Remy XO we did on episode number 42 got a flat 10.0. And the Hennessy XO we did on episode 66 got a flat 9.0. So this is right in between the two.
Nice.
So I think that's also very appropriate as well. Well, gentlemen, what a great night.
Great night, and a tribute to the composite approach, which
right.
one of the consultants in the room,
No.
I forget which one,
Pagoda.
Pagoda.
was it? Yeah,
Very passionately, Pagoda.
yeah, really advanced and gained alignment on.
Gained alignment.
Seems to
He
work.
worked the room. It was very political.
Yeah,
The right approach.
Oh yeah.
How do you pronounce this thing? Camu or Camu?
Camus.
Camus, cousin to Shamu.
Camu? Camu?
Camu.
Camu.
You know, for
Camu.
Christmas, we should have bought Giz hooked on
Camu.
phonics or something. I mean, Jesus.
Hooked on lizards. Camu. All right.
Correct.
Camus.
All right,
On
boys.
display in Orlando at SeaWorld. Camus.
All right, boys. A great night tonight. The Camu XO got a 9.5, and the Cohiba Piramides Extra got a 9.4. And we'll see you all next week.
Keep smoking.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.